Judge Marco Maria Maiga is joining us from Milan. Welcome to the program. May I start by asking you to first confirm to us, sir, whether you believe that the bribes, the kickbacks went beyond the Tyagi family and in fact did involve politicians, because you have seen the handwritten note by the middleman Haschke, which does speak of payments to politicians.
Well, the first thing I have to clarify and to say is that our judgment at the moment is not a final judgment. We have to wait the judgment of the Superior Court, and so in this limits we have to keep our judgment. The court has decided that on the basis of the evidence that the two Italian indicted, Mr. Orsi and Mr. Spagnolini, and so Agusta Westland, paid a lot of money to the family Tyagi, the brothers Tyagi, Julie and his two brothers, and part of this money gone to the cousin Shashi Tyagi, who was at that time was Chief of Staff in India.
Yes. Sir,
I know that at the moment actually in India you're interested to bribery involving politicians or other officials of the Indian administration, but our judgment had not their behavior as object. They was out of the object of our judgment. In the judgment, we have mentioned and reproduced some document, and one document handwritten by one of the middlemen of Agusta, one document who shows some initials of bureau and of people, Indian people, we think, but some indication to identify the correspondence, to identify this bureau and these people has been shown by Mr. Haschke, one of the middlemen who has written the document, and we took note of this indication. We have no direct evidence of this payment, also because in that document he took note of the payments that Mr. Christian Michel, the second middleman of Agusta, said that he should pay in the future. The document is of the beginning of 2008, and the numbers that you can read in the paper could be the amount that should be paid to some official or politician, Indian official or politician, by Mr. Michel. That's all.
Sir, that's a very important point you make, because in fact the handwritten note by the middleman Guido Haschke is in front of me, and as you have explained, it has many code names, AF presumably for Air Force, BUR, presumably for bureaucrats, and then there is a reference POL, which you are saying indicates politicians, and below that is a reference saying AP, which here it is widely believed refers to the political secretary to Sonia Gandhi, Ahmed Patel. So would it be fair to say that you have taken note of this bribery reference by the middleman, and there are clear indications that the money went beyond the Tyagis to some officials in government and to some politicians?
Well, first explication and explanation. The object of judgment was the rule and the behavior of the two Italian men accused and was defined by the indictment. So that was for the court the object of the judgment, the principal story. To verify the validity of the indictment, we had to verify also the surrounding of this story, and the surrounding of the story give traces of the other presences of activity of other people, other bureau who should be, could have supported Agusta in the deal. But this is a surrounding, this is something that came around, around the principal story, and so we didn't enter in the middle of this second part of the story.
But sir, you have
we
not...
only...
yeah, complete your point.
Yes, please.
I was going to ask, you have not given a clean chit. You are not sitting there and saying no politician is involved. On the contrary, you are looking at middleman Haschke's note and saying there are indications of the fact that the money may have also gone to officials and politicians, going by the handwritten note of middleman Haschke.
Well, the handwritten paper by Mr. Haschke gives traces of which we took note of it, and we said maybe that someone other has supported Agusta. The investigators said that Paul is an indication, an initial stage for a politician. AP is an initial of an important politician, Indian politician, and in correspondence of this initial there are indicated numbers who could be, should be the amount that would be paid, but was not interest of the court to say if these facts was real or not, if this fact was founded, because these facts were not in the indictment. And so we have only a scenario surrounding, and we say in the judgment that is reasonable, is possible that someone other has received money for this deal, but that's all for us.
So what I'm hearing you say, sir, is that you have taken note of the middleman Haschke's handwritten bribery note. You believe it's quite possible that money was paid to Indian officials and politicians, but you have not gone further because you think it's for India to investigate that.
That's not my rule. If the Indian authorities think that would be possible to investigate starting from these documents, that's not my. It's not something that I can say. surely they can do it. The document is visible on internet to everyone, and everyone can can have an idea of the situation.
Sir, you
so
spoke.
if they
you spoke
want
of,
to start
Sir,
investigation.
yes. You spoke of AP being a reference to an important Indian politician. Here, there is a great deal of debate. Journalists and the government says it's a reference to Ahmed Patel. Was that your conclusion as well?
We have no conclusion about it. Ahmed Patel is an indication of investigators on the initial AP under the initial POL who could be politicians. AP has been indicated by one investigator as correspondence with Mr. Ahmed Patel, but Mr. Haschke, in his declaration as witness in the first degree of the trial, said that he don't remember this indication and has not clarified the correspondence.
What is your own surmise about it? What is your own conclusion? Because Sonia Gandhi's name is also coming up. Ahmed Patel is her political secretary. Your judgment is being used as a defense by the Congress here to say, look, the judge gave us a clean chit. You are saying that you are not here to give any Indian politicians a clean chit. You're not here to say Indian politicians are innocent.
The court hasn't and doesn't have conclusion on people who is not in the object of the judgment, within the judgment. All these bureau, persons, politicians, officials, Indian politicians are out, stay out of our judgment, and we don't have anything to say about it.
There is, sir, another bribery.
And we would say nothing.
Yes. You will say nothing, but that also means you're not saying they're innocent. You're just saying we won't say nothing, but we've taken note of the middleman Haschke's bribery note, which, the other middleman says is forged. Would you be able to say whether this handwritten note is authentic or fake? Because there is also a dispute over that. You are saying you have taken note of it and you believe it to be authentic.
Well, Mr. Haschke said that he wrote this paper at the beginning of 2008 under indication of Mr. Michel. Mr. Michel was saying him the expenses that he should support in the future for this deal. This is all we know about this document. In big part of the declaration of Mr. Haschke as witness, we have appreciated that he said the truth. He said something that has found correspondence in documents or other indication of other witness. And so, in this limit, we can believe that he said something true.
That's a very important revelation, that there is enough circumstantial linkages to believe that that bribery note is actually authentic. That's a very important news point you're giving us, Judge. Let me ask you about another note, that one written in 2008 by Christian Michel to Peter Houle, speaking of Sonia Gandhi being a driving force and speaking of her key advisors. How did you in your judgment read that second note by middleman Christian Michel? If we can bring up that note now, and sir, go ahead.
It is a document whose very low importance for us. We took note of these facts, but is very not contains specific indication. It is a something of color for us, something of ambience, but no concrete indication, no concrete evidence. We took note of it because it is part of the document who give evidence of the rule and the behavior of Mr. Michel.
Sir, I want to ask you, your judgment talks about the absence of cooperation from the then Indian government. In fact, I believe you have more than 180 boxes of documents, but only 3 notes came from the Indian government. Can you elaborate on this?
That's the only thing I could say about the cooperation of Indian government, the Indian authority. I can only say how is written in the sentence that Italian authority, Italian prosecutor asked to Indian authority to send all documents of concerning the deal starting from 2002, the first deal. All the only documents we received are these 3 documents mentioned in the sentence, and specifically the request for proposal, the technical proposal of Agusta, and the agreement between Agusta and the Indian government. And then we have also the report of CAG, that you can download by internet.
But would you say that therefore there was no cooperation, there was no real sharing of information?
I don't say anything of it. I say only what we asked and what we received.
A last question to you, Judge. One of the middlemen, Christian Michel, wrote to the Indian Prime Minister making a very, very outlandish allegation. He actually alleged that in exchange for releasing Italian Marines who are in custody in India, there's been a quid pro quo arrangement on the Agusta case. In some ways, that casts aspersion on the judicial process. I'm wondering if you're aware of this allegation by the middlemen and how you respond to it.
And nothing to say about it.
Well, Judge Marco Maria, you are the man at the heart of what is causing political and literally a political earthquake in India. The most important point you've given us is that you believed, corroborating different opinions and different strands of information, the bribery note by Guido Haschke you found circumstantially to be authentic, and you believe that there are clear indications that money was paid to officials in the government and politicians, but that was not the purview of your judgment, and it will now have to be India itself that investigates that. A very important piece of news coming from you. Thank you so much, Judge. It's a pleasure having you on the program tonight.
Thank you.